very good day and a warm welcome to Black Excellence Network. My name is Sisanda Nomusa Gagwadi. Thank you very much for joining us once again this afternoon. As usual on Tuesday, I have my most amazing guest, Mr. Johan Erasmus. Controversial, I must say. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much for your warm welcome. Controversial, it indeed is.
I can tell. Today we're not talking about state capture, right?
No, only next week.
Yes.
But it might slip in somewhere.
Here and there.
Of
right.
course.
So today we said, let us just, deviate a little bit and go to another very important topic that, a lot of South Africans at the moment, they are talking about it. It's mostly probably one of the most spoken about topic lately in a political sector, except the state capture, of course. So we are talking of the land expropriation without compensation. Maybe briefly, we can just let you know that if we're talking about land expropriation without compensation, it means that the land will be or should be expropriated, taken, literally, from people that are currently owning it without having to compensate those people, meaning that we kind of say that you stole it, you didn't really get it the way you're supposed to get it, so now you need to bring it back. You didn't borrow it, so you must return it. They say, bring back the land. So I'm with them Lungu here, who probably has a land that we would like to expropriate. So let's find out, Mr. Erasmus, what's your take in this whole thing? I mean, a lot of people lately, they're talking about, we want our land, but really, some people don't really understand. What land are we talking about? If you go to my village, the land is huge. Is that the land that we're talking about? What is it exactly? Because some people, when they say they're talking about land, they're talking about sentence. They want their sentence back. What exactly are we talking about in this instant?
Very interesting. A lot of people have got a lot of viewpoints. It's very emotional. People don't sit still and go and look and see what is being said. It goes back to white arrogance, black arrogance, arrogance in total. Julius Malema was all fire and fury about ground. And Cyril Ramaphosa pulled the carpet from under him. Said, we are going for land. Land expropriation without compensation. For that, they had to change the constitution. But it's not as easy as it sounds. Let's go back to a lot of things. Historically, all the black people in South Africa come from the Great Lakes. They immigrated southwards. In the 1800s, they ran into the voortrekkers and farmers going northwards. In the 1830s, it was recorded that the first people that went across the Free State flats found these flats inundated with white bones. It was known as the Livakane. And the Shaka Zulu, Dangan, killing off all the other tribes. Eventually you had Msidikasi and Ketswayo ending up in Bulawayo with a section of Ngunis. Now you must remember, on the trek eastwards and southwards in anthropology, the Bantu-speaking people, the Ngunis went along the coast, east coast of Southern Africa, and the Tswana and Sesotho came inland. That's why Northern Cape, Northwest, that is where you would find them predominantly. Now, also from the Cape, the voortrekkers came, as I said, not always the best people, but people who were fleeing the Cape in order not to pay taxes and to get land, by whichever means. The so-called treaties which were entertained between the voortrekkers and certain chiefs. Did the chiefs have the right to sign these treaties? Could they give something away which did not belong to them? Because remember, coming from the Great Lakes, they all had cattle. They were not hunter-gatherers like the Khoisan down in the Cape. They had cattle, and they had to follow the cattle, and they had to find grazing for their cattle. Simple. I like that word, by the way. So now it goes back to, I'm going to jump back and forth. Now BLF on its website says, blacks cannot be racist. 1830s, the Livakane. Why were these people killed? Was it because of racism? Ultimately, that is what it is. So they're a bit off kilter with their viewpoints. The whole thing is, there's too much rudeness, too much arrogance in this whole debate. We've seen it with AfriForum in Parliament last week, a very arrogant attitude towards Parliament. But you must also remember, 1820, the British settlers were given ground in the Eastern Cape, Grahamstown and environment.
Were given.
They were given.
By who?
By Lord Charles Somerset.
Okay, another white guy.
A British guy.
All right, so
That's where, look, that
another
is where
white
the
guy
real...
came back to Africa and took the land and gave it to other white people. We're going to come back to that.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Listen to what I'm saying. He gave them the land, and then, I've said it before, he issued an edict. The white farmers were supposed to supply the garrison in Grahamstown with fruit, vegetables, and whatever. The garrison was compelled to buy from them, not from the black farmers who had a better produce at a better price. This is where the problem comes in. And it's always about money. Now, when you talk about land expropriation, in the international sphere, the world is governed by treaties, and people want to know that their investments will be safe. And land becomes an investment. But whose land? In the traditional system, in Gwavuma Trust in KwaZulu-Natal, the king, when it came to land claims, claimed 98% of KwaZulu-Natal for the Zulus. Is it viable? Is it feasible? Is it viable? Is it feasible in today's environment? On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, no. You see, this is a very difficult dilemma. But what it goes back to, can and will people be fair towards each other? Are they willing to entertain that notion? Because when we look at the state today, they talk about 4,000 farms. When you look at Sebedela, Orange Farm, when you look at Sapeko, the tea farm outside Sanin, when you look at the horse farm outside Limpopo, when you look at Tani Mudisa's farm with the pigs, they were all failed ventures. Why? I was an advisor to the Ratsagai tribe in Koster. After, it was in the area, late 90s, 1999, after they put in their land claims. And they had the choice. They could choose money from the state, or they could choose the ground. And I said to him, go for the money. Because the bulk of your people are living in Soweto. Not everybody is in a similar situation, but it's their specific situation. They chose the land. Now the first thing that happened, the fences disappeared. It was a game farm. The game got shot out, the water pumps disappeared, the land is lying fallow. Now next to them was Richard Charter. Richard Charter was from ATE in the arms industry. He had this pig farm. He died in a canoe accident on the Orange River. And he was a player along with the Manels and John Breerenkamp in the arms deal. And he was helping the Ratsagai. After his death, things came apart. So Ratsagai is worse off than they were before. Okay, so when it comes to land, what can land do? I've been many times in Ekandastria, KwaMashlanga, and I always used to say, you bloody Afrikaners, you National Party will put these people here because you relocated them to take their land. What can these people do in this sandy ground? Why doesn't God give them something to do with this sand? But it was a development so-called node under the National Party, whereby you would get 60% of your salaries and wages refunded, 60% of your infrastructure costs. You would have so many subsidies. Remember, this is the precursor, the forerunner of the Mpumalanga Economic Development Agency, Omega ultimately. And the big thing is what happened here is the Department of Trade and Industry had inspectors. A week before the inspectors would arrive at a place, there would be 600 people in employ. They would count them literally and then work out the subsidies these people have to go and sign off on it. A week thereafter, there would only be 100 left until the next time the inspectors come, because this is how the system worked. They were notified when the inspectors are going to come. And they can say, I'm talking nonsense, but I was there. I saw it. Because I was doing RSC levies and I traveled through all of those places. Remember these previous TBVC states, and that was part of Bophuthatswana, were not a part of South Africa. So they had to be incorporated after 1995. So, and when you talk about land, what are you going to do with land? Forget about whether you're entitled or not. Tell me, do you understand what's your obligation? Do you understand what your obligation if you have land? I'll give you an example. Georgia, after communism with Shevardnadze, every farmer was given 80 hectares of land. 2 years later, the country faced a hell of a big problem on food scarcity. Simple, because the farmers in Georgia were used to people telling them to do what to do on the communal farms. They didn't plant anything except outside their homesteads, where they had a couple of head of cattle to feed themselves, but nothing for the market. You know how many farmers are there now farming? There's a lot of South African farmers over there farming. And they're talking with praise because they say these people are carrying us on their hands, because they're not just telling the people what to do.
Yeah.
They are doing things and they're turning it into a paradise for production.
Okay. Maybe to catch you, Wadi, there. Sorry about that. I just want to ask you one very straight question. Do you want the land to be expropriated without compensation?
It's not an easy answer. There are definitely cases where it can happen and it must happen. Then there are cases where it shouldn't happen.
Okay.
So you see, it
Put
comes
us in a
back to
picture.
being fair about everything.
Okay, put us in a picture. When should the land be expropriated without compensation and when it shouldn't be, or it could not work out if it's done?
Firstly, the land under state control is the first land that can be expropriated without compensation, because the state is
Okay.
sitting with it.
Okay.
So, but the big thing is, expropriating the land in itself means nothing. It means nothing. I'm going to drop a bombshell now and sit tight. Hold on.
Okay.
Because the big thing is, if you don't have money to farm, can you farm?
No, you cannot.
Can you farm? You. I cannot farm, but I know how to get people in to farm on my behalf.
Oh, you mean
Okay.
can I farm?
Can I? Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm from the village. Yeah.
Can you?
Yes. I'm a
How big
farmer.
can you farm? 100 hectares?
No.
Half
not that-
hectare?
No, not that big.
A garden.
Yes.
You see, and this is where the perception comes in, land, because it's an emotional issue and it's about money. I'm going to get money if I have land. In Pakistan, they gave title deeds on land expropriation. So these people could go because they have a development bank. They borrow them up to $500 at a time, so these women form conglomerates and they borrow $500 and they start cultivating vegetables, whatever, on a small scale, and they build it up and build it up. They're a long way from big farms. They're a long way from the massive farms we have in America. You think those farms are productive? It's the subsidies they're getting. In the European Union, it's the subsidies they're receiving, because that makes them profitable. They talk about Japan. Japan had land expropriation, and that gave rise to economic growth. Japan is a separate issue, because in Japan, a farmer that plants rice, and you can go and look at De Bono when he talks about this, he says the Japanese farmer knows every grain stalk on his plot. This is why the Asians are so meticulous, because they know every grain stalk on their plot, and because their plot is not hundreds of hectares. They're lying against the hills. You've seen the photos. So in other words, they know exactly. So they can tell when they walk through it, see, this stalk has got an illness, it's got to be tended to.
Okay, so which land shouldn't be expropriated then?
It's not a question of shouldn't
The
be.
private.
The first of all, when the homelands were created, Transkei and Ciskei, some of the best land in the country was expropriated for that purpose. That's the first lands. That if it's not being cultivated, that must be expropriated. KwaZulu as well. Because the most fertile lands in this country are in those parts. But then you must remember, if you want to expropriate land, let's give you 1,000 hectares in the Karoo and let's see what you do. It's semi-arid. What are you going to do? You understand? I mean, I came into Prince Albert and I said, where's the alpacas? Because that is alpaca world when you compare it to South America. And the big thing is people are not looking and seeing what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Also because of state capture. There was a company called African Food Products. They wanted to buy maize from the farmers and then extract the high fructose syrup. I think in the 80s in Germiston. The sugar farmers came to them and said, here's an open check, blank check, fill in what you want. We want the plant. And they mothballed it. Because high fructose syrup was at that stage deemed, and still is, very favorable towards diabetes. So Coca-Cola, could use it. But the farmers, their biggest market is in the cool drink market. Because remember, cool drink at that stage was more expensive than petrol. It's only now we're getting petrol, our fuel costing more than a liter of cool drink. So the sugar farmers didn't want it. Now you've got stevia being grown on big scale in India, Thailand, and in Mozambique, which is the new super sweetener, which is drinkable by all diabetics and which is less of negative effects than high fructose syrup. So in other words, when you look at land expropriation, where, what, and why, because what is the obligation? What are you going to do with the land? Is the land going to give you income? Is it going to give you money? It's not a jackpot which you win to give you money.
Sorry, how about the land that is not in the farms? How about residential land? Because why I'm asking that is that you find places, for instance, a place like Sandton. Last week you mentioned something that, somebody would come in their own land and then buy the land for like 400,000 rand and then call their friends to come and evaluate the place and issue the certificate and say, oh yeah, this place is actually worth 400 million, for instance. And then now I am coming, I want to buy a place or a place to build my own home to live in. And then you end up paying so much money and you don't even have like a full title deed. For instance, like in the States, you get like, sectional title deed. And I don't think that's actually fair that in my own country, I need to be like treated like a, I don't know, because nobody really deserves this type of...
Hold on to your seat. Hold on to your seat.
I am going to hold on because I really need to know why is it that now these guys come in here, evaluate with their friends a land and then call it, oh yeah, this place is worth 400 million rand. We know this type of fraud. It's out there. But you know what? We don't have a way to prevent these things. We can't fix it because they would say, yeah, we evaluators. We did it. We found out this place is worth 400 million. Who determines that? Who says that? Who decide?
But we can fix it.
Okay. Now
Right.
I'm ready for the bomb. Drop it. Please.
No, the bomb is still coming. This is the prelude. Remember, Sandton belonged to the Mia family.
Mia family.
Mia family.
No. It belongs to South Africa.
No, hold on. It belonged to the Mia family. They're the same
Who are
people
they?
from the
fine.
Mall of Africa.
Really?
Yes, Waterfall Mall.
I didn't know.
Okay? Sandton was their property. You must remember, it was always the victor that claimed the spoils. Doesn't matter where in the world. And the Mia family sold off, and then the development came. Now, Johannesburg had all its financial institutions until downtown Johannesburg became a little sordid area. Anglo-American has still got in 44 Main Street, they've got security guards around the place, making it livable. But everybody moved out to Sandton. And you must remember, Alexandra is just opposite the road. I know Alexandra very well. And always, as I said, you told me you were Christians. Why apartheid? Why is people living like this? Paul Mashatile called me one day and said to me, why are you fighting my friends? I said, because they're not listening. But I said to him, but tell me, why did you send in the red ants?
Who are his friends, if I may ask?
Patrick Banda and Jacob Kulu.
Oh. And
Now-
why were you fighting them?
It's a long story.
Okay, we'll get to
As
that.
I told you, I'm controversial.
I know.
So I said to him, why did you send in the red ants? He was MEC housing. A month later, Mochega the premier, was out of his job because of that. Because he didn't consult with with Paul Mashatile. Paul Mashatile has got some mistakes. All of us have to. But he's one of the good guys. You can work with him. And the big thing is, he understood, because they said to him, Paul, why the hell are the people being removed out of Alexandra? Now, what happens if you don't have land? They squat all over the place. This is what it's about. In the 1990s, me and a lot of farmers had big discussions. And I said to him, listen, guys, very simple. Create small townships on your farms. Every 10 farms get together, create a township. Yeah, but what about title deeds? I said to him, to hell with title deeds. Put all your labor there. Then you have a local center. You can upgrade it. You can train them. And the municipalities are willing to finance you for infrastructure. And if they don't, do it yourself and take it as a tax deduction. But you see, the big thing is with people, when it comes to money, people become greedy. They can't get enough.
Yes, of course.
They do not look at saying, but I want to share with other people. And this is where the whole land issue comes from. People are feeling nobody wants to share with them. Remember, if you were living in a squatter camp, when I asked these guys, where do you live? In a tin house. Corrugated iron in a squatter camp. The reason is the government is not spending the money on the people. In 1966, the World Bank put aside 1,200 tons of gold, of which they gave the certificates to the South African Reserve Bank, the Bank of Koolsberg, Volkskas, Nedbank, Barclays. The South Africans could use the money on the basis of it was a loan for 50 years at 4% per annum. And after 50 years, that money was supposed to be handled as follows. 50% to be repaid to the World Bank. The other 50% was to be used for infrastructure. Now, I did a quick calculation, I might be wrong, but the total value came down to $38 trillion. 50 years passed in 2017. The Reserve Bank has not paid the money back, and they have not made the money available to the government to put into infrastructure. $19 trillion goes a long way.
Really?
I'm telling you this.
So I'm sure AfroForum is there, since they're always chasing about everybody to pay back the money.
No, they're not so clever.
Can they help us here? It's a lot of money. Trillions of rands. AfroForum. Help us. AfroForum. AfroForum.
Forum.
I'm Zulu, sorry. Help us get the money back. You helped us find the money away back from the former president. Here's Reserve Bank, owes us. This can do a lot. Another thing while you're still at that, I figured that this country has a lot of inequality.
Absolutely.
It is, I think, so far the biggest problem that we are facing of inequality. Just where we are, we're just maybe 2 kilometers away from the worst of the most painful way of living of people of South Africa, which is Alexandra, just across the street. And when you cross to the other side, it is the most luxurious lifestyle you can ever imagine, where a bottle of water is worth 30 rands, where, everything is just out there. Why is that? Why are we really, do you think, hence you said earlier, the government is failing our people? Do you really think that this is just a fight for the government to fix alone? Not these so many private sectors that are here. Like the offices where we are, it is dominate, like almost the entire Sentin is owned by a company called Growth Point, property managers and whatever. And the type of development that is happening here, it's just amazing. Can people just stop being greedy for a moment and then maybe spend 10% of that to the people just across the street? Build them a road, at least something to, or some houses. Or why is this?
Because of the Alexandra Mafia. Thabo Mbeki was running the Alexandra Mafia.
Oh.
You had a guy by the name of Tex coming out of there.
Let's find him out.
Tex in the Eastern District Municipality, which is in Brits. in the Northwest Province. They got contracts for building outfall sewers
Yeah.
at inflated prices. Popo Molefe comes from the Alexandra Mafia. Why did they not do anything? And I'll tell you why. It's not that they didn't do anything. It's that we have got too many procedures. We've got too many protocols. Under the National Party, there was legislation that said a roll of toilet paper had to have 500 sheets on it. That is typical of the Dutch mentality. Typical into the smallest detail. Apartheid. Every house had to have 7 layers of paint. And the last layer had to be done by the white supervisor. Now tell me, do you know a white bastard who ever painted a house the last layer? I don't.
No.
But this is what apartheid was about. In Africa, when I spoke to all these people that came from Europe to assist in your Africa, that knew the old colonial system, and when I said to them, this is what's happening in apartheid, they said, but this is what we had before independence. You must remember, at the beginning of the 60s, 1959, Uhuru, the freedom in Africa, all the colonial powers, the powers were stripped from them. France have still 14 French-speaking countries under their control. Those countries do not get $1 on any exports. All the money goes to the French central bank. They get paid CFAs, which are pegged normally 50, which was pegged that time 50 to $1 or to the French franc. So they do not have their own dollars, and that is trillions of dollars. And this is why France became big, not because the French are so good. They're good at certain
Maybe good
things.
thieves.
Yeah, they can make. What can they make? They can make crepes, which is very nice.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and frog legs, le cuisse de grenouille.
And le croissant.
Oh oui, c'est bon, c'est vrai. But that was made by the Viennese firstly. So the main thing is, this is how France came about. So the control of the land has always been an issue, because when we look at land now, Akkerboom farms, the first 2 lands earmarked for expropriation, they've got coal seams running underneath them. So in other words, while all underground minerals belong to the state, the upper level of the ground belongs to the owner of the land. And you must negotiate with the owner first before you can start mining, otherwise there's hell to play. So that is why they want to expropriate the land. Now, I've mentioned before that in 1987, 100,000 British pounds were given by Lord Joel Joffrey to Mac Maharaj for Operation Vula, which included people such as Pravin Gordhan, Ivan Pillay, Tony Nkadimeng, Siphiwe Nyanda. Now, where did he get the money from? I'm from Jewish ancestry way back. I've still got to find a Jew who will give you 100,000 British pounds. From MI6, so they could have a standoff agreement, arrangement. This is what we used to do in intelligence. You wouldn't be seen there, you would have somebody else who would act on your behalf. So what is this about? Is this something thrown into the air by Cyril Ramaphosa to steal Julius Malema's thunder? And what will happen after 2019, the election, if Ramaphosa stays in? Must remember, Ramaphosa is the guy, was Anglo-Americans' guy all the time. Right? And remember, look at the facts. So you had to have MI6 involved, because they were involved with Anglo-American, they were involved with Rembrandt, they are involved with everybody around. It's not only them. But the big thing is, British companies are eyeing South Africa. Because look where the rand is going. When the rand was 11.90 to the dollar, everybody demonstrated in the streets against Zuma. The rand is now at 15. Nobody's talking about Cyril Ramaphosa. Just saying, oh, Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't work. Because Cyril Ramaphosa also the guy that brought the Guptas into the country. So what is the land about? The land is being used as a situation to deflect attention. What's happening in KwaZulu-Natal, the Valley of 1,000 Hills? How many toilets have been erected on every hill? It looks like the land of 1,000 toilets, isn't it? The Valley of 10,000 toilets? Because what happened in tradition? Traditionally, the chief was a chief by virtue of agreement. There was royal lineage. But if the people decided, you're not the chief anymore, you're not the chief, they told him hamba, or they would move. That is what would happen. They had democracy in the sense of one man, one voice. The chief would be the man to sum it up with his advisors and then make a decision. And therefore, there was respect for the land. And that's why I'm saying, what is your obligation? Do you understand your obligation? If you have land, doesn't matter how you're getting it. We're not talking about that now. I'm saying, what are you going to do with the land? On RDP housing, we've already seen it. RDP houses being rented out to the Nigerians. People wanted houses, they're getting houses.
Well, what is still on that? I think it's a matter of, the role that is being played by poverty in this country. Because I'm going to think about having this RDP house and I still have to maintain it. And I was living in a shack and I didn't have to do much as I was doing and I need to do in my RDP
Correct.
house. So people will then now maybe rent it out for cash or sell it for cash in order to survive. Not because they really do not want better life, they don't want those houses. It is just a situation that is just putting them in that corner to sell the. Obviously, it's not right to do that. But what do you do with the house if you can't even maintain it, if you can't even live in it? So I think our government also has a role on how to assist these people from there, because they are used to another certain type of life where everything is almost coming for free. Now they need to be in this RDP house where they have to pay maybe a minimum amount for the water, a minimum for the electricity and whatever. Only to find that I was just living on easy yoga all this time, my whole life. Now it's another expense to the people that are not even working. So if you're giving me a house, give me another solution around. Say, how am I going to maintain this house? How am I going to continue to live in this house?
How am I going to work this land?
You understand? So maybe while we're almost going to wrap up the land issue and then maybe move to the next story
Topic.
that we're going to, a topic that you're going to cover today. My personal view on the land, our beautiful viewers at home, just get me right. This is not a view of Black Excellence Network or its directors or its employees or whatsoever. It is basically me as Sasanda Kwabe. I think, in my own view, that we shouldn't really, run to take the farms away from those people. Yes, I know I'm married to a white guy, but I'm not captured. He's not white. So get it right. So just give me an ear and listen. I think these guys need to be taxed. So we leave you in your farm, somewhere in Kuvuki land, and then we say, okay, cool. You've been owning this farm for the past so and so. This is what you have been. We go back to the books, do our check and balances, see how much have you been getting out of this farm. And then we say, okay, now for a start, you're owing us so much. Check your books and say, okay, from now on, you're going to start paying us tax of this amount of money, plus what you owe us in the past, and from now going forward. Because obviously, if somebody is owning a farm and is getting 100% of whatever that he's getting there, it wouldn't really hurt to take away 20% of what you're making out of that and pay it off as tax. And then let people, because seriously, I know it is a problem. We cannot overnight be farmers. It takes time. So I don't want us to get to be like how Zimbabwe ended up. But I would say if we need to maybe train some farmers, maybe to get skills and do like a massive skills transfer wherever, have maybe 3 or 4 of those farms that you are using as a skills development center for the farmers to come there and be trained. And you make sure that these farmers that are training these guys, they're not teaching them nonsense so that when they are on their own, they fail. So let us try and find this thing, because tell you what, we're going to be sabotaged if It's a fact that we cannot deny. If we just come and say tomorrow, Verwoerd or Erasmus, give me the land. We take the land, off we go. Erasmus say, okay, cool, we'll see how it goes. Maybe he's going to plant some nonsense in there or whatever that can really sabotage us, or literally, because they have got their own places where they sell, where they do this, where they do that. It's also a network. It's not just something that you're going to wake up in the morning. I mean, we all sell services, but there are specific people that are buyers. So are we really going to have, because now when we take the farm, we're going to produce and sell to who?
Okay, let me just add on with you. You've got a lot of merit, but whether it will work is another thing, because we are highly taxed in this country, and also because the government, that $19 trillion is in question. Now the big thing is, in KwaZulu-Natal, there's a farm where this white farmer and his black workers have created a relationship, a partnership. They are very successful because one, the farmers, the black farmers, have now got an ownership. Two, the white farmer has got security, and they are being very successful. There's a group called Kuiper Farming in doing chicken farming. They're doing exactly the same. But you see, to do this, you have to have a vision. You have to understand where you come from. Kuiper is a Dutch guy. He came from Holland. He started here with chicken farming. Your normal farmer was given land by the National Party, obtained land on the borders, like for instance in across Zimbabwe, Zambia, the Kalahari. Farmers were established as a buffer zone towards Black Africa. That's why in the Kalahari you have water pipelines coming down from Kimberley, piped into the Kalahari, which is expensive water, by the way. You'll find it out once you hit some of those pipes with a bucky, and the water keeps on pouring out, and you've got to pay the bill. Okay? But what is happening now in this year? Stellenbosch municipality rented out 2,000 hectares of land to a farmer. This is land which could have been used for production. Excuse me. To whom did they rent it? We still do not know, but I can tell you from experience. In Middelburg, Mpumalanga, I found a farmer, ex-National Party politician in Steelpoort, renting land, approximately 800 hectares, if I'm correct, for 8,000 rand a year.
A year?
Yes, for 800 hectares. Now listen to this. He's putting maize on those hectares. 5 tons of maize a year per hectare times 800. Okay, 4,000 hectares, 4,000 tons. At that stage, it was at 500 rand a ton, 2 million rand. He puts in 800 heads of cattle. He sells 600 3 times a year at 10,000. Okay? 600, it's 1,800, 18 million. Okay? 21 million rand turnover. He does 1,000 pigs a year. That's 3 to 500. Okay? 500,000. So, what is happening here?
Your friend is greedy.
No. He's got a big turnover. Now he's going to say to you, it cost me so much, and he takes old OTK upgrades tables of costs and saying, this is what my diesel cost me, this is what my tractor. But in every cost, there's already a profit. What people don't tell you, every cost they put forward already carries a profit margin for 3 years. And that profit margin is used to cover the cost on the 3 years coming. And it gets renewed every year. So in the end, there's a cost, there's a profit included. So it looks like marginal income, which is not true. I can tell you about other issues about pension funds being robbed so people could become big farmers.
Yeah, well, you promised me a bomb. Was that the one?
No, the one was the Reserve Bank.
Oh, yes.
The Reserve Bank. Because remember, if that money is being put into play now today, it's not black people, it's all people. It's our people in South Africa. Because our people are black and white. The zebra cannot decide he's white or black, he's black and white.
We're zebras.
Exactly. But this is where we have the advantage. Remember, at independence in the 1960s, the Congo, DRC Congo, was the most developed country after South Africa in the world. look what happened. They were not allowed to carry on. They were virtually destroyed. I mean, Jacquemines had the big copper producers in the south at Lubumbashi had 5 years spares on the ground available for any machine. Today, they do not have 1 day's spares. Because it suits the whole of the world that Africa is being downtrodden, is being marginalized, because firstly, they can have a cheap market from which they can source goods.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, what I found, people that manufacture white goods, such as Hoover, to clean carpets and stuff. For Africa, you had a special model. It cannot be repaired. Normally, if you have a vacuum cleaner, you have a problem, you can have it repaired. Not in Africa. You buy it expensively, and when it's broken down, you've got to throw it away and buy a new one. So you want to talk about land reform? Land reform doesn't stand in isolation. There's so much to do, but it goes down to one thing. And this is which is most important for the black people. And they're going to say, why is it? Because black people have always shown a big propensity to be fair and just. I can vouch for it.
Be very
and
fair.
Forgiving.
Extremely.
The
Like
only
we
thing
forgave
is,
you guys.
Thabo Mbeki should have given amnesty to all the special forces. Black and white. Listen to me. Black and white. Special forces always used to be more black than white. South African special forces. But they were marginalized. Okay? Because Thabo was playing his own game. Those people could have assisted in all this, in economic growth. Go back to Janus Walus. Janus Walus killed, he and Darby Lewis killed Chris Hani. Chris Hani was going to become president.
Oh, yes.
And Thabo Mbeki didn't want it. Thabo Mbeki had the intelligence service watch Chris Hani. They saw these two people around Chris Hani.
Mm-hmm.
It's documented. He told them, stand back. They were allowed to kill Chris Hani.
So you mean
Thabo Mbeki is behind
the
it.
former president, Umnumzane Thabo Mbeki, must have doctored the murder of the fallen hero?
Thabo Mbeki knew these people were up to no good around Chris Hani. He knew it because intelligence service advised him. His instructions were, stand back. Now Thabo Mbeki will deny it, but it's documented. Furthermore, you remember the mercenaries that was caught in Zimbabwe?
Yes, yes. You remember.
Those mercenaries were trained in vereniging on a farm. The intelligence services were kept informed every day, who reported to Thabo Mbeki. Thabo Mbeki wanted to get his hands on oil.
Umnumzane Mbeki.
We have proof of the oil companies eventually created.
I think we would like to see this next week.
Now, seeing it is another story. It's in my file somewhere, way back. But I'll go and have a look. I'll find it.
Please, because you know what? I want to make sure that our viewers at home, they know that we're not just scratching our head and bringing these bombs on the table. These are facts. These are things that happened. And somebody somewhere there needs to stand up and wake up and do something about it. We can't just, sit. We are here not just for the sake of having a show. We are here to unplug the issues that needs attention. And whoever this falls into their ears, please, if you have a way of us sorting this thing, especially the Reserve Bank thing, I think I'm definitely going to, contact a few people and see what we can do to, start mobilizing this. I know a lot of young, very strong people that can stand up if we have facts on the ground. But maybe before in closing on this topic, we're going to have 10 more minutes just discussing another issue that is actually very big, the issue of race. What will be your seal around the land expropriation without compensation?
As I said, there are cases where it can be done and it must be done. But that doesn't mean it applies to all the cases. That's the main thing. Also, it does have a negative impact on the economy, because once you say it must be done without any argument, that becomes a problem. When you go back to being fair, as I said, what you've said on the taxes, it has merit. But it must be investigated, because it's a very emotional issue. The lands of our fathers. Hey, where did your fathers get the land? It's time, you see, it goes back to one thing, leadership. Where is their leadership? Why is Cyril Ramaphosa not acting on the Reserve Bank? This issue will be put in front of the Zondo Commission. Not by me, by Fanny Volkser.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'll give you a CD.
We'll be there.
I'll give you a CD. It will be unpacked in front of the Zondo Commission. This is the main thing, because the CD has already been sent to Parliament, to every political party who signed for it. Whether they've read it is another issue. That's the main thing.
I'll have all the
So,
time.
land expropriation, there are cases where it can happen, but the big thing is we must look at the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit is the 4,000 farms. Otherwise, we'll give Julius Malema a farm at the R and see what he can do over there. Because remember, all eyes will be on him to make him a laughing stock. Because being a farmer, I've been on many farms. I'm very caustic about a lot of farmers. I arrived there 11 o'clock in the morning, the guy is sitting on the stoop, drinking coffee. A farmer has got to be out and about. With the technology today, he can use UAVs to see what's happening on his whole farm. With the satellites and the way the tractors are set up, he can know what's happening on the ground, what he can plant where, and where he's got to add some more manure or whatever, fertilizer. And this is what it's about. The technology is there, but old-style farming as it was done in the ways back, it cannot exist, it cannot survive. And also the big thing is that's happening. The farmer today is producing much more than the farmer 10 years ago and the one 20 years ago. But now we're talking successful farmers. There are elements of nature which are detrimental to farmers. We have changing of climate, make no mistake. So we have to adapt at how we're farming. But the big thing is, I worked on a farm in my first year as a student at Stellenbosch. They were paying the farm workers R2 a day. They were giving them housing, they were giving them a ration, and they were giving them wine every Friday. This was people who were sitting in Parliament, their relatives were sitting in Parliament, they were exporting grapes outside the country, grapes to the European market. So in summertime, I mean, you had many people in the vineyards because you're working with little scissors in preparing the grapes. But they were living back in these cluster homes in the Paarl, for instance. They were fetched every morning. So talk to me about Christianity again. And this is what it comes to. No, this is what it comes to. Black people understand. I went to look at the guerrillas 1987 at Goma. I flew in with some guys from the JSE. We flew old South African Airways planes, which was being used by Air Zaire and Cibe Zaire. And when we got to the village after we saw the guerrillas, we were 5 meters from them and less. The Americans were not so lucky. There were reasons for it. Again, it was relationships with the people on the ground. They took us directly to the guerrillas. They took us to this village. And there's all the children. Mandele, Mandele, white man, white man. They're not used to white people coming there. Give them some money and they go and buy, which is like a vetkoek or a koeksister, sweet. They're standing and eating. And I walk past them and I say, where's mine? And he gives me immediately. And that is what people don't understand. It's not because I can or where I was. This is what I found amongst black people. You must understand. I'm saying these people have always given me the time to listen to me. White people, especially from the intelligence services, have been talking nonsense like you can't believe. And you know why? Because there's no leadership. Jealousy. And this is what it goes back to. They're afraid. They're afraid. They think we're going to be marginalized by black people. That's not true. There are black people who act like that, make no mistake. Make no mistake. And normally it will tend to be, I call them the shiny, bright black ladies. Because they walk around on pumps that's wobbling, and they drive these big cars, and they're too important to talk anything. But the big thing is for land expropriation to happen. As I said to you, the whole of Parliament is guilty, except David Maynier and Dennis Bloem, when it comes to corruption. When it comes to land, there's major corruption. When I wanted to see what's happening in the municipality, we just have to find out who was the chairperson of the land committee in the 1980s. That person would always be the land baron in that municipality. He would have the most land, would have the biggest land. Of course, make him pay taxes then. But this is what it's about. People are not fair. Life is not fair, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be.
Yes.
Let's go to the next.
Yes. Okay. You know, I'm now under the the impression that you've just nailed the land expropriation, and I'm not thinking that we probably shouldn't kind of dent this juicy discussion with the race thing, because we obviously just touched on it a little bit on what's the issue. I think maybe we might as well just make another day, if you agree with me, my beautiful viewers, that we make another day where we can specifically tackle the issue of inequality and racism, because that is a lot. And there are a lot of people, especially when we talk about racism, people think of white people. But trust me, I also know black people that are racist, a lot of them. I mean, in, interracial family type of thing, I see these things every day. When you're walking around, you'll be looked and seen as a criminal. You have just committed a form of a crime by both parties, not just one party. So I think probably if you can give me just a liner, a teaser.
Yeah, I'll give you one.
A teaser that will get us, to our next topic that I would want us to set another day to tackle just that, so that we don't mix, so that if our viewers want to go onto the land expropriation video, they can go there and watch that one, and then if they're interested onto the video of racism, they can just go into that.
It's a short teaser.
Yeah.
When I was living in the Congo, I had a friend, Rick Jacobs, and his son Eric. Eric married a black woman, Sue. Beautiful woman, you can't believe it. Fine features. The people in Central Africa have got this Nilotic features because of Arab influence. Beautiful. And she spoke Flemish. Sue spreekt Vlaams met mij. Natuurlijk. Her father was a white Belgian and the mother was a black woman from the bush. Her father looked like the Secretary of State at that stage, George Shultz, in America. And they used to tell me they would book a holiday in Europe or in Greece. Mr. and Mrs. Jacobs. And when they arrived there, the reception would look at them, total consternation, say to them, sorry, please wait, there's a problem with your booking. Because in Greece they would have a sea view. Sorry, there's a problem with your booking, we only have a backyard view now, when they see the black woman. And this is what it's about. The world has got this problem with race. Remember, 800 years ago, there was a black bishop in the Vatican. Now the Jesuits who are guarding the archives, something I would very much like to get into. But I wouldn't be able to read it because it's old, Latin, whatever. So I'd need a lot of help. I would like it. But the Jesuits are guarding those archives. If those stories could be told, we would know a lot. But the big thing is, black people have since way back already played a role. But it's never been acknowledged. In the First World War, Houphouët Boigny from Ivory Coast went to the battle at the Somme with a company of black soldiers. He fought on the side of the French. You don't hear about this, do you?
Mm-mm.
You don't know about that.
No.
When you look, SS Mendy, the South African blacks, when you look at how they were trained to be truck drivers, I get upset. They were set on a carton, and the steering wheel with a rod was pushed into the sand, and that is how they taught them how to drive trucks.
Really?
Yeah, there's photos about it.
Well, we're not going to plan to take people back. We only want to discuss those issues so that we can rebuild our country and make it a better and beautiful country. Do you know that South Africa is actually the only country in the world which we can refer to it as a rainbow nation? You're going to find your Indians, you're going to find your coloreds, you're going to find your whites, you're going to find your blacks, you're going to find your Chinese. We are a rainbow nation. Can we just love our country and set a beautiful example that other countries will look at us and wish they were South African, if we can spread the love and love one another. I was watching another beautiful video of some two white guys doing the vosho that I actually cannot even try and do. That was beautiful. And we always see, I always do the Afrikaans dance. The one that just don't have a move at all, because that's what I know. So it's, we're just mixing, we're just doing beautiful things. So South Africa, let's just love one another. But we talk about this next week,
We'll go
somewhere. We're just going to, go deep in that because we love this country so much. So we want to make it,
Let's stir it up. Let's stir it up.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, I'm an anthropologist by training as well.
Oh, wow.
So it's my topic.
Okay. You see now, we've got a jack of all trades.
Oh,
So-
wait a minute.
Okay, you're not a jack of trade.
Yeah, I'm just not a slouch. That's the difference.
All right, that's cool. Take it. All right.
D'accord.
Okay, d'accord.
D'accord?
Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
All right. Now, please say goodbye.
You can make a difference. It sounds idealistic, but grab it by the horns, or don't you have the guts? Ciao.
Ha! Grab it. You know the Saudi thingy? Grab it by the horns, not by the, but grab it.
By the cojones.
Nah. It was a beautiful one. I really enjoy being here all the time, sitting right here on Black Excellence Couch. My name is Sisanda Nomusa Gaqwabi Kuto. Intombazane yaphansi kwamhlabi yalingana umvule ngophuza ngiphuzukelekele. Kanti ingoma zakithi ngishiye zidla phansi emahlathini asekubandeni. Asihlangane futhi next time, same place, same venue, right here on Black Excellence Network. Ngithi ke, hasta la vista, baby.